Sometimes love comes wrapped in mystery. You see someone close, someone who holds your heart in a unique way, pulling back and seeming to ignore you. And it's easy to think, do they care? Am I even important? But let's take a step back and look deeper. Because often when someone ignores you, there is a reason rooted in love, one that might surprise you. When we think about love, many of us picture warmth, togetherness, and closeness. We imagine shared moments, laughter, and a steady flow of affection. Love, in its most idealized form, is often thought of as a constant presence, a source of security and comfort that remains visible and steady. But the truth is, love isn't always expressed in a continual outward display of attention and presence. Sometimes love requires space. It pulls back, creating a feeling of distance, which paradoxically may be one of the most genuine expressions of affection and care. When someone loves deeply, they're often overwhelmed by the depth of what they feel. It can be intimidating to be so deeply affected by someone else, to let one's heart be fully seen and vulnerable. In these moments, people may instinctively create distance, not out of a lack of love, but because love is something that can expose insecurities, fears, and unhealed parts of ourselves. Distance then becomes a way of processing these emotions. It allows for reflection, for understanding the role that person plays in one's life. Just as physical distance gives a broader perspective of the land, emotional distance provides a clearer view of one's feelings, intentions, and desires. It can be hard to grasp this idea because society often conditions us to believe that love must be constant, expressive, and always visible to be real. We are told that when someone loves us, they should be there every moment, ready to express their affection openly. However, love is much more complex. The absence of someone's constant attention doesn't necessarily mean they've stopped caring. It could simply mean they're navigating the intensity of their feelings in their own way. Some people need to step back in order to understand their love more deeply and to ensure that it's coming from a place of authenticity and not dependency or fear. Moreover, love and distance can coexist because they allow relationships to breathe. When someone gives us space, they're trusting us to be our own person. They're allowing us to explore who we are without the need for constant validation or reassurance. This kind of distance is a gift, as it gives both individuals a chance to grow independently, to bring their best selves into the relationship. In this way, love respects individuality and personal boundaries, recognizing that a healthy relationship is one where both people are free to be who they truly are. Sometimes this distance is a sign of respect, a way of saying, I trust you enough to let you have your own journey, even as I'm on mine. In addition, distance often strengthens love. When two people allow themselves to be apart, they have the opportunity to reflect on what the relationship truly means to them. They begin to see what life is like without constant interaction. And if the love is genuine, it often becomes more apparent in the absence. Distance teaches us not to take each other for granted, to cherish the moments we do share. It provides clarity, showing us how significant someone is in our lives. Just as the heart grows fonder in absence, the value of the connection often becomes more evident when we're allowed to miss each other. Furthermore, by accepting that love and distance can exist together, we free ourselves from the anxiety that often comes with attachment. When we are always expecting someone to be present, we can begin to cling to them in ways that are unhealthy. This clinging can lead to insecurity, fear of loss, and even resentment. But when we recognize that someone's love doesn't depend on their constant presence, we create room for a healthier, more balanced connection. We begin to understand that love is not about possession or control. It's about acceptance, patience, and trust. Distance can also be a form of self-care. When someone steps back, it's often a way for them to maintain their own balance and well-being. Love isn't always easy. It brings up the deepest parts of ourselves, our wounds, our fears, our needs for validation. By creating a little space, individuals can take time to process these aspects within themselves. This pause allows them to show up as a more complete, centered person. In doing so, they're giving the best version of themselves to the relationship rather than reacting out of emotional overwhelm or insecurity. Distance, then, is a way to honor both the relationship and oneself, ensuring that love is rooted in self-awareness and integrity. Sometimes love is the wisdom to know when to step back and allow both people to exist in their fullness. It's knowing that love doesn't vanish when we're apart. It evolves, transforms, and deepens. Just as a beautiful song needs moments of silence to give it rhythm and texture, love too needs pauses. These pauses don't diminish the connection, they make it richer and more meaningful. The coexistence of love and distance teaches us that true love isn't about constant proximity. It's about resilience, trust, and the understanding that the bond remains even when it's not on display. Love allows room for breathing, for both individuals to experience growth, reflection, and self-discovery. It's a love that knows no boundaries because it respects the importance of space and the transformative power of time. Distance, far from being the absence of love, can actually be the space in which love can breathe, grow, and flourish in its most authentic form. Fear of vulnerability is one of the most common yet profound challenges we face in relationships and in life. It's an instinctive, deeply rooted feeling that often arises when we consider exposing our true selves to others. This fear can come from a variety of sources: past experiences of betrayal, rejection, or judgment that have taught us to protect ourselves. Vulnerability requires a level of honesty and openness that can feel risky because it means showing parts of ourselves that we often keep hidden. It means admitting our weaknesses, sharing our insecurities, and allowing someone else to see the parts of us that aren't always polished or perfect. When we're vulnerable, we are essentially saying, "Here I am, flaws," and all this openness can feel like stepping onto a stage, hoping that the audience will respond with warmth, yet fearing they'll turn away or even ridicule us. This fear of vulnerability is natural. After all, we're conditioned to protect ourselves from harm. We want to avoid experiences that might cause pain or make us feel unworthy. As a result, many people choose to shield themselves, to wear a mask, or to only show parts of themselves that feel safe. By doing so, they create a barrier, keeping others at a distance and avoiding the risk of potential pain. However, this fear often becomes a self-imposed limitation, preventing us from experiencing deeper connections and a fuller life. When we guard ourselves too closely, we miss the opportunity to form genuine, meaningful relationships. True intimacy, whether it's in friendships, family bonds, or romantic relationships, requires the courage to be vulnerable. It's through this openness that others get to know the real us, not just the version we show the world. This kind of connection is what many of us crave at a deep level, yet we're often held back by the fear of what might happen if we let our guard down. This fear can manifest in different ways. For some, it might show up as an aversion to close relationships altogether, where they avoid commitment or push people away. For others, it might mean staying in relationships but never fully opening up, holding parts of themselves back out of fear that they'll be rejected or hurt. This can lead to a sense of isolation, even when surrounded by others. The pain of loneliness within relationships is often a result of this unwillingness to be truly vulnerable, to allow others to see and accept us as we are. The irony is that while we fear being rejected if we show our true selves, it's actually this act of vulnerability that often fosters acceptance and understanding. When we allow ourselves to be open, we invite others to connect with us on a real level. This doesn't mean everyone will respond positively, some might not, but those who do are the ones with whom we can build the deepest, most fulfilling connections. People are generally drawn to authenticity, to those who show up as they truly are, rather than as a carefully constructed image. Vulnerability, then, is a bridge that allows us to connect not just superficially, but in a way that feels real and lasting. Fear of vulnerability also impacts our personal growth. When we avoid being vulnerable, we're essentially holding back from life itself. Growth requires stepping into the unknown, admitting that we don't have all the answers, and being willing to fail. Vulnerability is a part of this process. It's about being open to experiences and acknowledging that we are a work in progress. Without vulnerability, we stay in our comfort zones, unwilling to explore, to risk, or to challenge ourselves. This limits our potential, keeping us in a state of safety, but also stagnation. What's essential to understand is that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's actually one of the greatest expressions of courage. It takes bravery to reveal ourselves, to acknowledge our fears, and to accept that we might get hurt. By embracing vulnerability, we empower ourselves to live more fully, to experience life in a way that's rich and meaningful. There is strength in saying, I don't have it all figured out, or I'm afraid, because it's in these moments of openness that we learn and grow the most. Vulnerability allows us to experience joy more deeply, as we're not numbing ourselves to the full range of human emotions. The fear of vulnerability can be overcome gradually by recognizing that taking small steps toward openness doesn't mean we're exposing ourselves recklessly. It's okay to be cautious, to open up slowly and build trust over time. Vulnerability doesn't require us to share everything with everyone. Rather, it invites us to make choices about when and with whom to be open. By practicing vulnerability in small ways, we build resilience, realizing that we can survive rejection or hurt, and that these experiences don't diminish our worth. Another powerful step is to remind ourselves that vulnerability is a two-way street. When we're willing to be open, we give others permission to do the same. By embracing our own vulnerabilities, we create a space where others feel safe to share their true selves. This shared openness can lead to some of the most transformative and uplifting relationships. Instead of guarding ourselves out of fear, we can choose to connect with empathy, compassion, and mutual understanding. Ultimately, fear of vulnerability is an obstacle that, when gently overcome, opens the door to a richer, more fulfilling life. It invites us to trust that, while we may face moments of discomfort or pain, we will also find moments of incredible joy, love, and connection. By facing the fear of vulnerability, we give ourselves the freedom to be authentically human, to live and love without holding back. This in itself is one of the most beautiful journeys we can undertake. Compassion for different journeys is an essential understanding that each person in life is on their unique path, facing struggles, challenges, joys, and lessons that are entirely their own. We often encounter others whose lives, choices, or beliefs may seem foreign to us, and it's tempting to judge or categorize based on our perspectives. But true compassion recognizes that every journey is distinct, and that each person is shaped by a complex array of experiences, cultural backgrounds, and personal struggles that may be hidden from our view. When we see someone going through something we don't fully understand, compassion allows us to step back from judgment. It helps us realize that just as we face our inner battles and private pains, so does everyone else. Life does not present the same experiences to any two people, and what might seem trivial to one person could be monumental to another. The struggles we don't see are often the heaviest ones to bear. And this is where compassion steps in to remind us to treat others gently, honoring the complexity of their lives. Compassion for different journeys goes beyond mere tolerance. It is about creating a genuine space for people to be who they are without the pressure of conforming to others' expectations. When we open ourselves to the reality that everyone is navigating their own path, we become more open-minded and patient. We stop expecting others to mirror our beliefs or to live by our standards. Instead, we begin to listen more, to understand where they're coming from, and to offer kindness rather than judgment. This shift not only transforms our relationships, but also enriches our own inner world as we grow in empathy and understanding. It's easy to overlook how much our environment, upbringing, and experiences shape who we are and how we see the world. When we extend compassion to others, we acknowledge that we are all a product of these factors, often outside of our control. For example, someone who may seem overly cautious or even fearful could be carrying past traumas, life experiences that taught them to approach the world with care. Or a person who appears overly ambitious and driven might have come from a background where success was a means of survival or self-worth. By allowing ourselves to consider these possibilities, we not only deepen our compassion, but also dismantle the barriers that divide us from others. Practicing compassion for different journeys requires a willingness to let go of our assumptions. We often assume that others think and feel as we do, or that their challenges are comparable to ours. But every soul carries a different burden, shaped by factors we may never fully comprehend. This understanding calls for a compassionate approach to interactions, one that seeks to uplift rather than criticize, to support rather than correct. Compassionate people recognize that it's not their role to fix or change others, but to be there with an open heart, ready to understand and support. In relationships, compassion for different journeys creates a foundation of respect and mutual understanding. It allows us to honor the people we care about without expecting them to be like us. We accept that they may have different needs, dreams, and fears, and that they will grow at their own pace and in their own direction. Compassionate relationships are those where each person feels free to be themselves, where differences are celebrated as part of a shared human experience rather than points of conflict. When we give others the space to be who they are, they feel safe and valued, and this security fosters a deeper, more genuine connection. This practice of compassion also extends to how we view ourselves. Just as we recognize the need to be understanding with others, we also need to be patient with our own journey. Many of us are our harshest critics, often holding ourselves to impossible standards. By practicing self-compassion, we allow ourselves to accept where we are in life without shame or regret. We learn to be gentle with our own growth, to forgive our mistakes, and to see our setbacks as part of the larger journey. Self-compassion teaches us to honor our own path, with all its twists and turns, just as we strive to honor the paths of those around us. In a world that often pressures us to conform, compassion for different journeys is a radical yet deeply healing approach. It breaks down the barriers that keep us isolated, reminding us that at our core, we all seek connection, understanding, and acceptance. When we view each other through the lens of compassion, we foster a culture where people feel seen and valued for who they are. This approach can transform communities, workplaces, and families, creating spaces where diversity in thought, experience, and background is truly appreciated. Ultimately, compassion for different journeys is about embracing the richness of the human experience. It encourages us to look at others not as obstacles or opposites, but as fellow travelers. Each of us is learning, struggling, and growing in our own way. And this shared humanity is a powerful reminder that we are more alike than we are different. Through compassion, we find the humility to support each other without judgment, to be present for one another, and to allow every individual the grace to walk their unique path. As we practice compassion for others' journeys, we cultivate a more compassionate world. It begins with small acts, a listening ear, a gentle word, or silent acknowledgement of someone's pain. These acts create ripples of kindness that encourage others to do the same, fostering an environment of acceptance and understanding. In this way, compassion for different journeys isn't just a mindset, it's a way of life that honors the beauty of our shared and unique experiences. This kind of compassion enriches our lives and those around us, creating a space where all people can thrive and be celebrated simply for being themselves. Love is a powerful yet often subtle force, one that doesn't always present itself in grand gestures or openly affectionate displays. Many of us grow up with ideas of love shaped by stories, movies, and idealized expectations where love is obvious, visible, and unmistakable. We picture it as a sweeping expression that can't be missed or ignored. However, real love, the kind that endures and supports, isn't always this apparent. Sometimes love can be quiet, unassuming, or even hidden beneath actions that we might not immediately recognize as love. One of the reasons love isn't always obvious is that it takes different forms for different people. For some, love means words of affirmation, and for others it shows up as acts of service, quality time, or simple gestures of kindness. We each have our own way of expressing affection, shaped by our unique experiences, personalities, and needs. Someone might express love through making sure you're safe, by checking in on you from afar, or by providing small comforts in everyday life. These quiet forms of love may go unnoticed because they don't fit the loud, romanticized images we're accustomed to. Love often shows itself in the things people do rather than in what they say. A friend might not say, "I love you" often, but they'll listen to you with full attention when you need to talk. A parent might not be outwardly affectionate, but will work tirelessly to provide for their family, showing love through their dedication and sacrifices. A partner may not always speak words of praise, but they'll spend hours fixing something for you or ensuring that you're comfortable and supported. These acts may seem ordinary, but they carry within them a profound sense of care and commitment. Sometimes love is present in restraint and understanding. Love can mean giving someone space when they need it, even if it's hard to do. It can mean respecting someone's boundaries or supporting them from a distance when they need time to grow on their own. This quiet form of love is challenging because it requires letting go of our need to control or even to be constantly visible in someone's life. It's love that allows freedom, that trusts the bond without needing constant validation or attention. For many, love is about stability and reliability, showing up day after day without fanfare. These consistent acts, the small gestures, and the support we may not immediately recognize as romantic, are often the most genuine expressions of love. They're not flashy or easily noticed, but they are the glue that keeps relationships and friendships strong. It's the friend who always answers when you call, the family member who remembers what you're going through, or the partner who shares the routine of life with you without seeking credit or praise. One of the reasons love isn't always obvious is that often the people who love us deeply are also those who know us best. They may not feel the need to express love in grand ways because they are already secure in the relationship. They don't need to impress us or make a point of their love. They're simply there, day in and day out. This quiet, steady love is deeply comforting once we recognize it, but it can be easy to overlook when we're used to expecting dramatic expressions of affection. Sometimes love takes the form of tough conversations or constructive criticism. It's the friend who tells you the truth even when it's hard to hear, or the loved one who pushes you to improve because they see your potential. This form of love can feel uncomfortable, even confrontational, but it often comes from a place of deep care and respect. They want what's best for you, even if it means risking temporary discomfort to help you see something you need to work on. In the moment, it may feel challenging, but looking back, it's clear that this too was an act of love. Love is also present in forgiveness and acceptance. Life brings with it misunderstandings, conflicts, and disappointments, and sometimes love means looking past those moments to hold on to the relationship. The ability to forgive and continue supporting someone even after disagreements or mistakes speaks volumes about the depth of love. True love doesn't hold on to grudges or resentment. It makes space for imperfections and allows relationships to continue growing. This acceptance, though quiet, is one of the most powerful expressions of love because it shows a commitment to the person, not just the ideal of who they should be. In many cases, love is expressed without words. It's in the way someone looks at you, the smile that reaches their eyes when they see you, or the gentle way they touch your hand. These small, seemingly insignificant moments are the building blocks of love. They may not stand out in the way a big romantic gesture would, but they create a foundation of warmth and connection that lasts over time. Sometimes we only realize the depth of someone's love in hindsight, after recalling all the small acts of kindness and care they showed us. Understanding that love isn't always obvious allows us to appreciate the subtle ways people show they care. It opens our eyes to the quiet acts of love that surround us every day. When we recognize these moments for what they are, we begin to feel more gratitude and connection. We stop waiting for love to look a certain way and start appreciating it as it is genuine, unassuming, and often hidden in the smallest of gestures. True love, in its many forms, may not always be easy to see, but it is always there, steady and enduring, waiting for us to notice and cherish it. Space can sometimes be the secret ingredient that strengthens love, allowing it to grow in ways that closeness alone cannot achieve. Many of us are accustomed to the idea that being close, spending time together, and sharing experiences are the primary ways to build a stronger bond. While closeness is essential, there's another aspect of relationships that's often overlooked: the importance of creating and respecting space. This can mean physical distance, time apart, or emotional space, where each person in a relationship has the room to pursue personal interests, self-reflection, and growth. Paradoxically, distance, when embraced with trust and intention, can deepen connections and add resilience to relationships. When individuals allow themselves space within a relationship, they invite an opportunity for personal growth. Relationships that foster personal growth, where each person is encouraged to explore their own interests and aspirations, create an environment of ongoing renewal. Partners come back to each other with new experiences, insights, and perspectives which enrich the relationship. When each person grows individually, they bring a fuller, more vibrant self into the relationship, making it stronger and more dynamic. This space for growth allows love to expand, and rather than growing stagnant, the relationship continues to evolve with each partner's development. Space also provides the gift of appreciation. Absence truly can make the heart grow fonder, and time apart allows both partners to reflect on what they value in each other. When we're constantly around someone, we can become accustomed to their presence and may take them for granted. However, taking a step back creates a perspective shift, allowing each person to see their partner anew. They remember the qualities that drew them together, the things they admire, and the irreplaceable role the other person plays in their life. This fresh appreciation reinforces love, fostering gratitude for the relationship and the person within it. In addition to appreciation, space helps build trust, a cornerstone of any strong relationship. Trust isn't just about loyalty, it's also about believing in your partner's autonomy and respecting their individuality. When you allow each other space, you demonstrate a trust that the relationship is strong enough to endure physical or emotional distance. It's a declaration that love doesn't rely solely on proximity or constant reassurance. Instead, it is something deeper, sustained by the understanding and belief that you're both committed to the relationship. This level of trust can be incredibly empowering, giving each person a sense of freedom within the bond, rather than feeling confined by it. Space can also improve communication. When partners spend time apart, they often return to each other with stories to tell and new experiences to share. This sense of novelty injects excitement and curiosity back into the relationship. The discussions become richer, filled with thoughts and insights gained independently. It also cultivates a habit of open and intentional communication. Instead of assuming the other person knows how they feel, each partner takes the time to express themselves more fully. Space allows both partners to articulate their thoughts and feelings clearly, leading to deeper understanding and empathy. Sometimes creating space means allowing time for self-care and introspection. In relationships, it's easy to fall into patterns of constantly giving to the other person without taking time to replenish oneself. Emotional burnout can affect relationships, and space provides a buffer against this. When partners take time to care for themselves, they bring back a healthier, more balanced version of themselves into the relationship. This self-care is not only beneficial for the individual, but also strengthens the relationship by preventing the exhaustion and resentment that can arise from neglecting personal well-being. The relationship benefits when each person takes responsibility for their emotional health and returns to the partnership renewed. Moreover, space helps to create boundaries that maintain a sense of individuality within a relationship. Being close does not mean losing oneself in the other. Instead, a healthy relationship respects each person's individuality. Boundaries prevent enmeshment, where identities blur and one partner's needs or emotions overshadow the others. When both partners have space to retain their own identities, interests, and friendships, the relationship is built on a foundation of two whole individuals, rather than on dependency. This autonomy allows love to thrive out of choice rather than need, making the bond more fulfilling and sustainable in the long term. Space also nurtures resilience within the relationship. Life inevitably brings challenges, and there will be times when circumstances require partners to be apart, whether due to work, family obligations, or other personal responsibilities. Relationships that have embraced space as a natural part of their dynamic are better equipped to handle these situations with resilience and trust. They have already learned that distance doesn't have to diminish love, and they have developed the emotional maturity to navigate periods of separation with grace. Instead of viewing distance as a threat, these partners see it as a chance to affirm their commitment, knowing that their bond can withstand life's inevitable ebbs and flows. While space can be challenging, especially in relationships where closeness is valued deeply, it is a necessary and valuable tool for cultivating a love that is resilient, respectful, and constantly renewed. Love that withstands space is love that is built on solid ground, not reliant on constant reassurance, but strengthened by mutual respect, trust, and admiration. Space allows partners to see each other not as extensions of themselves, but as unique individuals, and this acknowledgement enriches the love they share. It transforms the relationship into a partnership that is balanced and whole, where each person's growth and fulfillment contribute to the strength of the bond. In the end, space is not about separation, but about giving love the freedom to breathe, expand, and mature. It's about trusting that the relationship is strong enough to endure individuality and time apart. When partners are willing to give each other this gift, they create a love that is not only enduring but also liberating, one that honors the fullness of each person while embracing the beautiful connection that binds them. This love, strengthened by the spaciousness within it, becomes not only a source of companionship but also a powerful force for personal and shared growth. Acceptance and openness form the bedrock of truly meaningful relationships, creating a space where individuals can be themselves without fear of judgment or rejection. The world around us often demands that we fit certain molds, uphold specific standards, or present only the most polished versions of ourselves. In such a setting, relationships that cultivate acceptance and openness become a sanctuary, a place where we feel safe, valued, and understood. But achieving this level of connection requires an intentional effort. It's about seeing someone for who they truly are, flaws, quirks, strengths, and all, and choosing to embrace them fully. Acceptance begins with acknowledging that no one is perfect. We all carry flaws, insecurities, and habits that aren't always easy for others to understand. When we accept someone, we look beyond these imperfections and see the whole person. Acceptance doesn't mean turning a blind eye to behaviors that may be harmful or unkind. Rather, it means allowing room for growth and acknowledging that everyone has areas where they're still learning and evolving. True acceptance is grounded in patience, allowing others to be human, to make mistakes, and to grow in their own time. It's about focusing on who they are at their core, rather than on the superficial traits or temporary phases they may go through. Being open in relationships complements acceptance beautifully. Openness is the willingness to communicate honestly, to share thoughts and feelings without fear of being dismissed or misunderstood. In relationships, openness builds bridges. It's about letting others see who we are beyond the mask, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. Vulnerability, though often challenging, is the gateway to intimacy and connection. When we allow ourselves to be open, we let others understand our fears, dreams, and struggles. This openness invites reciprocation, encouraging others to be real with us as well. In the absence of openness, relationships can feel shallow, merely skimming the surface of who we truly are. Acceptance and openness together create a balance of give and take. When we approach relationships with these qualities, we move beyond a mindset of expectations and demands, shifting instead toward understanding and flexibility. In a setting of acceptance, there's no pressure to meet an idealized standard, and people feel more comfortable sharing their authentic selves. When we are accepted as we are, it fosters self-acceptance, reducing the inner pressure to constantly change or hide parts of ourselves to be deemed worthy. We feel a sense of freedom to explore our true nature without fearing that we'll lose love or respect for simply being who we are. Relationships built on acceptance and openness are also incredibly resilient. Life brings challenges, and every relationship will experience difficult times, whether it's misunderstandings, disagreements, or personal setbacks. In relationships grounded in acceptance, these challenges become opportunities for growth rather than sources of division. When people know they are accepted, even during times of conflict, they feel safe enough to work through issues with patience and kindness. Openness ensures that communication remains clear and honest, allowing both individuals to express their needs, concerns, and desires without holding back. Rather than drifting apart, they work together to understand each other more deeply, building trust and security in the process. Practicing acceptance and openness also cultivates empathy. When we're open to understanding someone's experiences and when we approach them without judgment, it naturally deepens our compassion. We become less focused on our own perspectives and more willing to see things from their point of view. This empathy is what allows relationships to transcend the superficial and reach a place of true connection. In the absence of empathy, it's easy to fall into a cycle of misunderstandings and assumptions, missing out on the richness of someone's unique experiences and insights. Openness is the antidote to such misinterpretations, helping us pause, listen, and understand before reacting. One of the most profound benefits of acceptance and openness is the sense of peace and fulfillment they bring to relationships. Without these qualities, people may feel guarded, constantly evaluating their words and actions, fearing judgment or rejection. But in a relationship that embodies these qualities, people feel liberated. They can let their guard down, be honest about their fears and dreams, and feel confident that they'll be accepted. This is incredibly freeing, relieving the emotional tension that so often plagues relationships. It allows people to experience love in a pure form, untainted by conditions or unrealistic expectations. Acceptance and openness also foster personal growth. When we feel accepted, we become more open to accepting ourselves, which can be transformative. Often people carry doubts and insecurities rooted in past experiences or societal pressures. In a relationship where they feel accepted and appreciated, they're encouraged to heal and grow, letting go of self-imposed limitations and embracing their potential. Similarly, openness encourages self-discovery. As we express our true selves, we come to understand ourselves better. Through this self-expression, we become more aware of our values, aspirations, and areas where we want to grow. This growth, in turn, enriches the relationship as each person evolves alongside the other. A relationship grounded in acceptance and openness becomes a safe harbor. Life outside may be chaotic, filled with demands and judgments, but within this bond, there's a calm space where people can return to recharge, reflect, and reconnect. This sense of safety strengthens the bond, building a level of loyalty and commitment that goes beyond any external circumstances. Partners, friends, or family members who cultivate this environment share a bond that is both deep and lasting, one that offers strength and support no matter what challenges arise. In relationships based on acceptance and openness, love becomes more than just a feeling. It becomes an act of consistent kindness, understanding, and support. It creates a sanctuary where each person feels valued and seen. By embracing each other's flaws, celebrating each other's strengths, and always staying open to communication, these relationships become a source of deep joy and fulfillment. Through acceptance and openness, love transforms into a profound and nurturing force that not only strengthens the relationship but also enriches each person's life.